Welcome to EdTech featuring Illinois College, showcasing the changing landscape of institutional security in 2018. Our featured guest speaker for today is Mr. Patrick Brown, Chief Information Officer at Illinois College. If you're facing any audio difficulties, then please dial in using the number on the GoToMeeting screen. At the end of today's webinar, we will be accepting questions posted in the web conference questions pane. The questions pane is available in the attendee control panel. We will begin in approximately 10 minutes.
Attendees. That's the same issue he's facing, Sam. That's the reason I'm bringing.
Welcome to EdTech Talk featuring Illinois College, showcasing the changing landscape of institutional security in 2018. Our featured guest speaker for today is Mr. Patrick Brown, Chief Information Officer at Illinois College. If you're facing any audio difficulty, then please dial in using the number on the GoToMeeting screen. At the end of today's webinar, we will be accepting questions posted in the web conference questions pane. The questions pane is available in the attendee control panel. We will begin in 5 minutes. Welcome to EdTech Talk featuring Illinois College, showcasing the changing landscape of institutional security in 2018. Our featured guest speaker for today is Mr. Patrick Brown, Chief Information Officer at Illinois College. If you are facing any audio difficulty, then please dial in using the number on the GoToMeeting screen. At the end of today's webinar, we will be accepting questions posted in the web conference questions pane. The questions pane is available in the attendee control panel. We will begin in 1 minute. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's approximately 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. On behalf of the QuickLaunch team, I'd like to thank approximately 50 institutions, including Taylor University, Belmont University, University of Arkansas Fayetteville, Urban University, Southwestern Illinois College, and several other higher education and K-12 institutions who are dialed in for today's webinar. About Illinois College. Illinois College was founded in 1829 and has been the forefront when it comes to achieving student success and has delivered academic excellence powered by cutting-edge technology over 189 years. IT at the helm of its reasons to success has always been a key driver in enabling student success. Moving on. Here is a brief about our guest speaker of the day, Mr. Patrick Brown. Mr. Brown has been serving Illinois College as the Chief Information Officer since 2014. He has grown from the position of Computer System Administrator in 2010 and has also served as an interim CIO for a period of 5 months in 2013. His passion to push the limits of technology in the campus and helping the institution achieve student success through technological advancements has resulted in increased student success at the institution. As part of our customer advisory board, his insights have greatly helped our team to make QuickLaunch a product of choice among higher education institutions. We are also joined in by Neeraj Kainth, CEO of QuickLaunch. Neeraj has over 15 years of industry experience and is aware of the higher education industry. Prior to QuickLaunch, he has worked in VMware and HP. His constant endeavor to unearth and solve identity-related challenges has helped him drive QuickLaunch expand itself from merely being a point product offering single sign-on into a fully fledged AI-based identity platform with a wide array of capabilities such as password manager, multi-factor authentication, and more. NK is a highly sought-after speaker at identity-related events. I shall now pass on the platform over to Neeraj and Patrick.
Thank you, Grizel. Good afternoon, everyone. Grizel, before I kickstart, can I please get an audio check? Am I audible? Grizel, could you please acknowledge you hear me well?
Yes, NK, we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. And can I get an acknowledgement that my screen is visible as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, wonderful. Perfect. We're going to get going, everyone. Thank you for taking out time and joining this webinar, focusing on specifically the ED talk in regards with how the landscape has been changing when it comes to institutional security, specific to 2018. I do want to thank Patrick for co-presenting this webinar with us at QuickLaunch. Folks, we thought it'll be a great idea, instead of zooming into straight 2018, we want to kickstart this with 2017. One of the biggest distinguishing factor which we carry as QuickLaunch has been that we don't like calling ourselves as vendor. We truly behave as partners. And one of the success mantras that we've been carrying is we believe in making our customer advisory board. Patrick Brown is one of them. And 2017 journey commenced in the month of December 2016, wherein the planning started. And prior to that, we behaved more like a single sign-on solution, which you see here, wherein there's Box.com, Salesforce, integration to Banner, ERPs, and PeopleSoft. And we were pretty much into higher education back then in 2016, doing lots and lots of integrations. But 2016 EduCause, post that our annual conference, was sort of a great start, wherein institutions came on board and they demanded that how can QuickLaunch behave as the priorities which CIOs want to prioritize as part of 2017. So one of the biggest requests which we received was, everyone obviously has gone through a lot of reduction on the budgets and the landscape has been changing. So institutions demanded that can QuickLaunch provide automated password reset, SSPR. That was one of the biggest demands which we received. And that resulted in us forking out a new product called as QuickLaunch Self-Service Password Reset Utility. Highly focused on higher education, because in the last 15 years, we've been serving predominantly for higher education. Next piece was predominantly focusing on account takeover attacks. 3 of our institutions went through DDoS, and we obviously wanted to stand with them, and we wanted to make sure that multi-factor authentication is available with all the bells and whistles, starting from geofence detection to suspicious activities to device management. So we enhanced our password reset tool portfolio to be able to provide multi-factor authentication. Student experience has always been a priority one for us and for you all for providing better student success. So that resulted in us transforming from a web platform to a mobile platform. And that journey obviously is continuing as we speak. Last but not the least, one of the challenges was, how can we complement you all? How can we be your single neck to choke? How can we provide you highly available out from the cloud identity as a platform service, which resulted in providing in-common integration, which resulted in complementing and not having you maintain and manage an Active Directory federation services, an OAuth platform, CAS server, Shibboleth servers. So we basically made sure that in 2017, we got most of our institutions leave those legacy technologies which they were carrying and provided them a cost-effective, out of the cloud, highly available solution. So that's basically how our 2017 was, highly focused on providing student experience and helping you complement your bottom line and provide more security to our institutions. I'm sure you're pretty active on CIOs priorities for 2018. Everyone is added to EDUCAUSE list. And for no surprise, information security tends obviously to be number one, which means as QuickLaunch, we need to continue providing better security aspects, be it providing fraud user login versus invalid password attempts. How can we provide that data to you? How can we pioneer ourselves and have integrations available with technologies like Spy Cloud and various other platforms which could complement us and provide better student security and institutional security. Student success obviously is big, and the journey for complementing student success goes with making sure each of you can retain students. How can we provide analytics? How can we do predictive analytics? How can we focus on retention, engagement? And QuickLaunch is striving really hard to come up with what you see now up on the screen, which is how can I tell each one of you what is your engagement ratio? What are the students' attributes so that you know which students probably need some counseling, they're not engaged, they're disconnected, they're not utilizing any of your applets or single sign-on or services or doing password changes. So we're going to continue focusing on that in 2018. Most importantly, on the digital integration side, how can we interoperate platforms? How can QuickLaunch behave as now identity and access management solution? How can we do provisioning, deprovisioning? That's the challenge which we have taken from our CIOs, and QuickLaunch is striving really hard to provide these upcoming products as part of our 2018 journey. Folks, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to quickly request Patrick to share his 2 cents in regards with what he feels when it comes to IT priorities for 2018. And Mr. Brown, it would be really helpful if you can then zoom in and talk about the challenges which you have faced as part of Illinois in the realm specifically for managing IT and streamlining identity and access management at Illinois College. Mr. Brown, over to you. If you can talk about that, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely, NK. Thanks. Thanks for having me. And I certainly for me, starting as CIO in 2014, one of my top priorities was to get ID management under control. I actually promoted one of our staff members to the position of user services manager. And, you know, knowing that identity management was so important for not only for security, but for the user experience, right? We just had, you know, like everybody else, if you don't have a single sign-on solution, we had many different applications that, you know, faculty, staff, students were using every day. All those applications had different passwords for everyone to remember. Sometimes it was a matter of where do I need to go to accomplish what I need to do right now? You know, I know there's a student event later. How do I go sign up for it? It's not in, you know, the portal. It's under this other application. And so, you know, for them to be able to figure out where do you go for what function, and then, you know, once you know what it's called, what's the address, right? Where do I put in my browser to get there? What page on the website or the internal portal hosts that link? So for us, you know, and for me, not only the position that I created, but then finding a solution for single sign-on was a priority right away.
Awesome. Patrick, if you could share your 2 cents on how did you go about solving the problem? What did you do? How was the journey look like? And if you can get a glimpse of the solution which you implemented at Illinois College, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started out with sort of trying to build something internally that that would work. We had access to ADFS, and we were able to do a few things. We made some steps in the right direction. We were also, you know, with our ERP provider, Genzabar, looking at a solution for that, because there's, you know, another thing every day people have to sign into it. It doesn't match what you use to sign into your computer. What is this password? How often do I need to change it? And tying those all together, again, there's the security aspect where maybe one system has, you know, a 6-character password requirement, but we want it to be 12, for example, because, you know, we find that a 12-character password is going to take this much longer to brute force it. And there's applications you can look at to do that. So for us, it wasn't quite getting there. Again, we had those conversations with Genzabar. They had recommended QuickLaunch to us actually at that step in the process. And what we found was, you know, somewhere down the line from there, and speaking with QuickLaunch directly, that we could have, you know, a better solution, more likely than it still get that Genzabar integration. So as you can see here from what NK is showing here on the screen, this is what our portal looks like. This is just a glimpse at what it looks like when a student signs in. We've got everything from the internal portal that you can see there, replace them to get to Echo 360. Their Gmail, the alcohol EDU that they have to, you know, go through and complete every year. They can check their meal plan balance. So a lot of these were student requests even. So not only did we roll this out, did we bring everything into one page. And as you can see, try to write a description so they know what they need to do. They know what the function of, maybe they don't know what presence is, but if they see that it's for student involvement or student events, now they know what that is. So being able to give those descriptions is great as well.
Mr. Brown, what I'm going to do is I've just given you presenters control. If you could take us and let's do a deep dive, that'll be, I think, pretty helpful for each one of the institutions who have joined us on this Ed Talk. Wonderful.
Absolutely. So you can see the portal here, right?
We do, yes.
So just as an example, this is signed in as a test faculty. So you'll notice that faculty members will have access to different things than students do. So faculty member will see things like payroll information or employee discounts, which again was another request from our faculty staff that is a deep link into the single sign-on portal. If you move over to looking at this page, now here's a test student, you can see things like meal plan balance. Faculty don't generally have a meal plan. The bookstore link actually goes to different spots. So for faculty, it goes to where they need to be able to pick out their books. For students, it goes so they can see the books that they're going to pick up for their classes and what their faculty members have chosen for them. Again, online time card, this was somewhere buried within our internal portal. Now they can get to it with one click. The IC, which I know is important to all of us, giving them an easy way to pay their bill, right? So this was an integration through TMS. Do they know what TMS is? No. If we put a link there that just says, yeah, click this to go to TMS, they don't know. But they know that what the IC payment portal is. They don't care that it's integrating with TMS in the background. And so, again, having these things right here at their fingertips has made a huge impact in our environment. And again, the security aspect of it is us being able to use our password policy. They change it every 6 months. It's this many characters long, which we'll show here shortly. So, for example, let me take you into that. So when you turn on the password reset utility, which gives students, faculty, staff the ability to reset their own passwords. The first time that they sign in after that's turned on, they're going to be prompted to set up their security questions, like so many of us are familiar with from online banking and other applications that you'll use. And then they can always go here to my account and they can review those questions that they've set up. They can make changes to them and they can change their password from there as well. So this was sort of the next step, you know, after we got this in place.
She can see everything, she can listen to everything, and we can see it. Christina.
and they're always asked to re-authenticate before coming in. So you can see if you don't know the password, you're going to have a problem there. Okay, great. So this is just a generic account, but as you can see, there's a lot of great questions to choose from. As you work with QuickLaunch to get this set up, you'll be able to choose the questions that you'd actually like to see in the dropdown. There's some great points here about choosing a good security question. And then again, the ability to change their password. And this allows us an easy place to put exactly what our password requirements are so that they're not confused, so they're not trying different things over and over, not knowing what they need to have in place. So again, that can be changed at any time. One of the things that was great that I want to highlight in here, of course, working with QuickLaunch throughout the process has been great. I've enjoyed all of it. They work hard, and when you start out the process and you say, I want these, 7 or 8 applications right off the bat, I know I need those integrated, and they work till they get it done. They contact you when you're ready to test. They respond well. So if I have a problem, I send an email, I get a response usually within minutes. I know I can also pick up the phone anytime. So that part's great because I'm sure we've all had the experience where you buy a product and then everything is great until you actually get it, and then maybe the support's not quite there like it should be. It's hard to get things done. So you don't need to worry about that. Well, great example of that was with PaperCut. So PaperCut, many institutions have PaperCut. Students are in there all the time, right? Printing documents, looking at their balance. Their single sign-on solution, if you start to look at the instructions to set it up, it's a little bit complicated, and it may be not, especially for a smaller institution like us, you may not have the resources to dedicate to this. So the QuickLaunch team, this is a test account. Let me show you on mine. But the QuickLaunch team was able to get this working for us, without us really being that involved, which was great. They sort of handled it in the background. And now anytime that we need to go into PaperCut, we just click the button. Students love it. They can use the copy machines on campus, and before it was such a communication issue. And how do I get the code to use this thing? Well, you got to sign into PaperCut. How do I sign into PaperCut? Where is PaperCut? What's the address? You can see it's, we name it so it makes sense, printserver.ic.edu, but that doesn't mean that they know where to go, even if they've been told, right? But so they have this button, they go straight here, they can pull it up, print their jobs. I'm sure you're all familiar with PaperCut, but anyway, this integration is not necessarily easy to achieve, but they can do it. They did it for us, and it's been a huge success for us. Office 365 as well. That's great. That's some students, they use right off the bat as soon as they come here. How do I get Office? I heard it's free from other students, or I heard you say something about how it's free in our opening orientation session. So just having that, again, one click button so they can go get it is a great thing. And I should mention too, thinking about the password reset utility, again, something else that was really important to me is making that automated, because if you think about the student at midnight trying to get a paper done for their final, and the service desk closed at 5 o'clock, right? That was a huge issue for us, wanting to be able to respond to that, wanting to be able to help that student in that moment, because it just happened. It just so happened that maybe the last time they changed their password, it's been 6 months, the day before finals, and now they need to change it. It's telling them they need to change it. They can't figure it out. Whatever the case might be, to be able to go in, click on, hey, I forgot my password, answer the questions they set up, and reset it is huge. And that is, you can measure the amount of time. So for example, we've been able to reset through, since we implemented this policy since we implemented password reset last June, we've been able to reset around 500 users, which you can see from your portal when you have this product. So for us, that doesn't sound like a huge number, but for us, we have about 1,250 total faculty, students, and staff. So almost half of our entire environment has used it and reset their password and not had to call the service desk. So if you think about that, scale it out to, your number of FTE, that can be a huge savings. It's huge savings for us, but that huge savings scales as well. And so that amount of time, certainly you can put some numbers to that, see how much you can save. But I think that saving that student or faculty and staff member who needs something on the weekend when maybe you're not open to help them, that's a sort of immeasurable value that you can provide. Anything else I should cover, NK?
No, that was pretty good, Patrick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take over so that I can show everyone a glimpse on the administration side as well. So what I want to say in short is I'm just picking up one of the institutions who's about to work with us as an example. And each one of us, we have various entry points. So what we're going to do for a user experience is we're going to get you off these entry points. Number one. Number two, if we zoom into these entry points as well, you would see that we're dealing with students, right? And we do care about user experience. We do want them not to be lost when they get to our system, starting from learning management systems to ERP, SIS, email. In this very example, you get to see that this institution has got just for two systems, two different look and feel. Now imagine the chaos on your help desk. Your help desk is now told to be able to support these different systems because this forgot password link is everywhere. So what we do really well is how can we complement you and not have you have different faces for your applications, rather come up with a name like My MVCC Portal, wherein as soon as you click, it takes you to that one-stop shop experience. And from there on, and these applications are predominantly all integrated, federated, and they just work like a charm. And on top of it, the icing on the cake is if we can do the protection of having secure passwords, we can abide to the policies in Active Directory, we can do multi-factor, that's phenomenal. So that's basically what we do really well for each of our institutions, which obviously then results in complementing your help desk cost and the investments which you have. So that's a quick recap in regards with the story which Patrick started, and we've done close to 1,200 plus such stories on integration. And if you watch what Patrick was presenting, they ended up adding lots and lots of apps. So platform idea was how can we be self-serviceable? How can we empower each one of our institutions with sort of a multi-protocol translator? Because today on the call, we have some of the schools joined in who are banner schools, some of our web advisor colleagues, JIC schools, and then on LMS, I'm seeing there are Canvas, D2L, Blackboard. We have hybrid O365 and Gmail audience today. In a nutshell, all of your apps support in some shape and form federation. And our platform is blessed with protocols some of you might be familiar with, like CAS and SAML and OAuth, OpenID. QuickLaunch, what it does really well is it gives you the ability of this identity provider up in the cloud, which would belong to you. In this example, it's Calhoun production environment. And starting from being able to register your Active Directory, each one of you must be having your own Active Directories, versus what QuickLaunch provides you with the solution is you could also chime in to receive a cloud directory from us. Why is that needed? We're all looking at having business continuity objective. We do not want systems going down in case if a connectivity between us and you suffers. How about we complementing you with an Active Directory versus you taking an Azure Active Directory from Azure if that's available. Idea is we should never have our lights going down. We should always be able to keep the lights on for you, for us, because we're your integration gateway. And if we go down, students would not be able to connect to any of the services, and there's no way we can afford that. So that's the platform which does all the magic. When I talked about doing federation, Patrick mentioned about we helping them to get paper cut integration done. But a very basic example on O365, all you got to do is the documentations are available. All you need to do is come to the platform, specify what attributes these applications would need, which is pretty basic, trivial. Your platform providers would tell you what do they need for provisioning, deprovisioning. Releasing those attributes from QuickLaunch is pretty simple, right from the UI by just clicking on a new claim. Let's say if a last name is needed, you could simply send the last name or a given name, and then specifying, I kept saying we are multi-protocol translator. What that means is we provide various protocols depending upon what your applications would need. For example, Banner is saying we support CAS and SAML. We have both the supports available. Similarly, some of your mobile applications might need OpenID or OAuth, and then some of you might want to take it to the next level because we're all talking about student success, student betterment, student engagement, student better user experience. How can we not make you log in? How about we give you a desktop single sign-on using a Kerberos KDC authentication using your domain credentials? That's one of the hidden agendas for 2018 as well, wherein we would want user who's on premise, pulling up a browser, logging in, should idly be auto-logged in instead of having to go through any of the passwords using domain authentication. So in this case, what you see is I'm just clicking on a SAML application, which is O365, and it's pretty trivial. All you need to do is define the configuration, which O365 would give to you. If you would have been doing, let's say, a learning management system, Canvas D2L would give you the same configuration. And all you need to do is define the config, hit update, you're done. That application would start coming to QuickLaunch identity provider, and we would take the promotion of behaving as a true identity provider. And these apps would pretty much become a service provider. And all the requests would come to us on our page. We would then inject multi-factor and password manager to protect your users from brute force or DDoS or any sort of account takeover attacks. So that's the administrative interface, pretty powerful. Some of you today on the call might be technical. I thought I'll just do a little bit of technical discussion as well. So this is our CAS server. There are banner schools. Some of you use CAS as well. Some of you are using Shibboleth for InCommon. Some of you are using ADFS. We are here to give and replace all of that and give you this identity provider, which gives you all the bells and whistles for federation. So in this case, what you see is it's pretty significant. There is no file system. Everything is right on the UI. Starting from Calhoun's test to production environment, everything is on the UI. And all you need to do is come to this tool as a CAS server, and you would basically have full control, starting from being able to enable the debug logs, being able to enable diagnostics. You can specify if you're a banner school, if you know what UDC ID means, it's a unique identifier. But in a nutshell, irrespective of what applications you have, all your applications would need attributes in some shape and form. This platform lets you manage the attribute mapping right from the UI. We believe that it's not just brute force. Your authentication service should also be respected. It should never be abused. So this server runs in a closed mode, which means if tomorrow you're looking at integrating Blackboard, you would have to come and educate the system that, you know what, let Blackboard use you for authentication. Otherwise, it would not let you do any of that. And in return, it would protect you from being connected to a third-party site, which does not belong to you all at all. So that's a quick glimpse in regards with our administrative interface. You could have multiple admins to manage this environment. It supports role-based access control really well. So folks, that's quick, sort of a little bit of a deep dive into how the administration works. Now, coming back to what Patrick mentioned, I'm not going to repeat what he did show us, which was more towards how do you go about setting up your security questions. But let's quickly zoom in into the facts which he did not cover. So I'm going to right now log in as one of the users. And what you would see is the tool is not only about changing password, it's about awareness. It's about making some strategic moves to not let this user call help desk. Prior to this release, we used to throw a generic message, credentials not valid, which means user is lost. And now all they know is, okay, I'm going to click on help and call help desk. But now system is smart. It says, hey, your password has actually expired. You know what? You can just reset it right with this click. How? Give me your old password, confirm new password, repeat the password, you're done. Beautiful. Now, some of you might say, what if I don't even know my old password? That's perfect. If you don't know your old password, we can then inject a bit of a multi-factor here, which means I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Brown, what is your student ID? What's your last name? And some questions. And then I'm going to say, okay, Mr. Brown, go to your personal email, collect a one-time token, and continue and create a password for you. So that's, again, pretty significant. This call would now not go to your help desk. And these examples were done in conjunction with working with all the help desk folks from various institutions, because obviously, I mean, we're on the implementation side, we're pretty technical, we can deliver technology. But if the use cases are not given to us, we would never get to know what the real use case scenarios are with you. Second example, in this example, what happens is your account is disabled, it's logged out, done. You better call help desk, which means now we are also telling you when to call help desk, when not to call help desk. Next example, some of you must be living in the old technology of, hey, back to school is starting up. We're going to give you a default password. So Mr. Brown, your password is your last name @ your social security last 4 digits, and you can log in. That used to be pretty cool because we had nothing available, and Active Directory requires you to set up a default password policy. So what I'm showing you is we do support it if you're a first-time user. And if you want change password at next logon to be available. But how about we give you a first-time utility, which means it's a brand new user, never logged in. You as an institution want to care about your security aspect, and you never want to set up a default password. Fair enough. Come to us, and what we would do is we would ask you certain questions. In this case, I'm saying, hey, what's your mobile number? What's your student ID? And what's your last name? Now, you might say, can we customize these questions? QuickLaunch is all about being able to let you configure it the way you want it to be. So yes, you can self-customize the questions. You would not need us. But here comes the beauty, which is it says, I understand these 3 questions. For security reasons, I see that your personal email is registered. Click here, collect the code, put the code. As soon as you collect the code and put the code, that's when I'm going to open up the gates and let you log in. So again, pretty significant in regards with not letting you even have a default password. Rather, we call this process as claim your password instead of having to give you a default password. And this, again, is pretty well respected. Working towards higher education only, we have received that respect within institutions. They love this one. They're no longer setting up a default password, and it's working pretty well for our institutions. So that's one of the biggest use case. Some basic items like forgot username is there, forgot password is there, all that is there. But let's look at one more use case, which is, how about I'm trying to log in, and at the time of login, system says, I'm not going to let you log in. This is a new browser or a device. You got to go through multi-factor first. So now I'm talking about altogether a different aspect, which Mr. Brown also did not cover. They're evaluating it, and they might implement it in future, which is, how can I protect your logins using a multi-factor authentication? And what you see smartly as QuickLaunch, what we have done is our multi-factor is going horizontal into password resets and into logins, so that we protect both password resets, and we also protect logins, so that if a user is trying to log in, and if we don't trust the device, if you don't trust the IP address or the city or the state or the time zone, I'm going to challenge each one of those users for protecting their account, because we do not want account takeover attacks to happen on each one of you. So that's basically what 2018 is going to be all about, and we're going to continue polishing these products and provide more predictive analysis, provide more of control along with the analytics and user behavior tracking to you all. So that's basically what I wanted to cover on password reset. We still have 17 minutes, and what I want to do now is do a quick segue into our administration. So what you should now see is this is QuickLaunch administrative interface. I'm going to log in as one of our administrators. And this is, again, a multi-tenant environment, which means I can pretend to be one of our institutions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to impersonate and become one of our institutions for the demo called EduCause. And within EduCause, what you would see is starting from seeing how many users are currently logged in. It's my test environment, nobody's logged in, versus total users, versus which app is number 1, number 2, number 3. All the reports would be available to you. It would then do a deep dive into giving you some deeper reports. So that's high-level report, which is you get to see like quick 2 sentences in regards with what the traffic looks like. But how many users? From where are they coming in? How many failed users? How many invalid users? What is my top app? What is my app devices which are logging in? Because we're also getting into device management. So there's a lot which we're doing right within this interface. And let's now quickly talk about multi-factor authentication. As I stated, multi-factor is going horizontal, starting from security questions. Mr. Brown did mention that you all can self-customize your questions. The understanding is correct. As soon as security questions are turned on, you can define the questions. Here is the pool. You don't like the pool which we provide to you, you can write your own custom questions, pretty basic stuff. Coming to email, we do have primary email, secondary email, all that is available. Can we pick up an email from your Active Directory? The answer is yes. Can we update your Active Directory? The answer is yes, because again, we wanted to bring all the configuration options right within the console, so that in case if you already have users' primary email from either PeopleSoft, Banner, GenSupportGix, it's pretty trivial to consume that into Active Directory and then leverage that instead of having them go through this multi-factor and telling us what their email is all about. Similarly, we do have phone options available. So as you can see that the journey started in 2017 mid. In less than 6 months, we got these 3 factors with Password Manager, with Login Multi-Factor up and running. And now 2018 is all about how can we be more cool for the admin staff and give them the Authenticator API? How can we do device management? How can we let you tap into a mobile device instead of sending you phone verification code and let you select call me, text me, push me, which basically pushes a code to you. And with the tap of it, from a user experience, you're done. You don't even need to find out, okay, these are the 6 digits. I'm going to go into the system, manually type in the 6 digits, which would be a tedious job. So again, how can we further streamline user experience is going to be the theme for 2018. So these are the 3 factors which in there. Most importantly, what I want to show pretty much the last aspect is how are we doing the governance across either password or system. Is able multi-factor for not for password change. You obviously do that as well. Now, if I can edit, when do I want multi-factor to kick in? Obviously, you want student retention. You want them to come to your systems and use the system. You don't want the platform to be a big turn-off for them. So you don't want to be too demanding and have them do multi-factor always. Doesn't make sense. Never doesn't make sense, which means you want to go with suspicious activities, which means if I'm a student, let's say I can call a parent, what do I want to do? As a student, I will give that I should go through security questions, yes, go through email, yes, and I want to start with, if there's a geo time zone device management change, device how buildings right now. 2018 is all about getting this into machine learning using the latest machine learning technology, getting into artificial intelligence, which is we are sitting on the system. I see when Mr. Brown changes his password. I know his patterns on login. Can't I predict that this is not Mr. Brown and I'm considering that to be a suspicion, which is a different device, 1 a.m. in the morning, I've never seen him logging in. That's a suspicion. System is going to wake up and say, you owe me 2 factors or multi-factor before I let you even log in. Beautiful. Versus a time zone change or a device change, and then letting you manage your devices, find out where your device is, what sort of battery are you running on your cell phone, where exactly is it sitting in the building. We'll be able to use the geolocation to exactly track even the devices using this console. One of our institutions, College of Marine, recently left CAS Duo. Again, one of the top players when it comes to multi-factor authentication. They left them because of obviously the cost was pretty significant. They ended up choosing us. And what they wanted was one of the features which we never had back then was, can we get a group policy of letting users who are on-premise, knowing their IP address, not go through multi-factor? Can we be specific? Can we give of IP? We said, let's keep the as quick launches. We're pretty flexible. We want you all to be part of us and drive the product direction, and let us know what should we as QuickLaunch be doing. In education, one login is irrelevant when it comes to our education. It's about being specific to higher education and getting use cases sorted out really well instead of asking each one of us to continue paying for development and professional services. So again, as instead of being partners, it's very different with who and we take it to our development and we ask few of our institutions like Illinois College to be a POC with us and take this to live state and steady state, and then provide these features to most of our other institutions. So folks, that's predominantly what we wanted to cover. There's a lot coming up when it comes to 2018. Things are changing. Everyone is marching towards an AI-first approach instead of a mobility-first approach. One of the most significant investment as QuickLaunch that we have started making at the commencement of 2018 is, how can we now become heart of each one of you and do identity and access management, which is complete provisioning right from PeopleSoft or Banner or Jix to AD, role change, surname change, ID change, password change, student becoming faculty, part-time student, alumni, parents are going to do that. How you to learn how can complement engineering to Blackboard, D2L, and Canvas, how to do that for you. So that's predominantly what the journey is going to be when it comes to 2018. We're going to quickly pause. I think we covered a lot. I'm going to pass on the platform back over to you and see if there are any questions. And folks, at this stage, feel free to raise your questions. There's a questions pane available in the GoToMeeting panel. Just type in your questions. If you have questions for Mr. Brown from Illinois, just raise the flag and we'll take the questions accordingly. Grizel, over to you.
Thank you, NK. While you were talking, we did have a few questions. So one of the questions is, does this work with AD? How about another non-AD LDAP identity provider?
So great question. So we're not married to Active Directory. We support Open LDAP. We support various other flavors of LDAP. I think let's just make it generic. We just need a source of authentication. I was on a call a few days back, but in one of the institutions, their FT was like less than 200, and they stated, we don't even have an Active Directory. We said, cool. we'll give you QuickLaunch Cloud Directory. So if you don't have one, we are willing to provide you one. And if you hear the direction, QuickLaunch is becoming now Identity and Access Manager solution, which means if you don't have AD and tomorrow IDAM becomes available, we are going to give you Cloud Directory. We will become your metaverse of all the attributes and identities, and we'll take the ownership of provisioning your accounts into various systems. So in a nutshell, AD versus non-LDAP versus maybe no LDAP using a JDBC Connect or a SQL upload or whatever the source of truth is going to be. And in future, using IDAM, Cloud Directory, even that option becomes available. I hope that answers your question. And feel free to let us know in case if there are any follow-up questions.
And NK, I'll just add to that too, that something very important about how we separated what different users see that I didn't mention before is that integration. For us, it is Active Directory, but just a matter of putting the users in different Active Directory groups. So if we have a group for faculty and a group for students, it's that easy to then assign those apps within your single sign-on portal. So the only appropriate users see them. You're not overwhelming every user with every application that you have.
Thank you, Patrick, for that. And I think one of the interesting pieces, Patrick, just to share with you, and then obviously everyone is listening as well, 2018, one of the biggest challenge has been, can we become AI-driven in the sense that it's back to school? How about automatically your registration links becomes #1? And it takes a backseat as soon as registration gets done. Similarly, grades day. How can we position the link which goes to grades right at #1? How can we let you play with the apps and drag and drop the apps and make it personalizable? How can we let you add your own apps? So that's one of the themes which CIOs are driving. Everyone in higher education is a little conservative about it because at the end of the day, you again do not want to give that much flexibility that one fine day somebody gets rid of an app, resulting in having too many calls at help desk. We don't want to do that extreme as well. So there are a lot of discussions happening on the forum, specifically with QuickLaunch in regards with how should we at least point the apps and make them one and auto launch them so that at the end of the day, for a student is saving like 2 clicks, not having to first scroll down to find out where is registration and then clicking, rather I can auto launch it for them. Very basic stuff, but again, pretty significant when it comes to complementing the user experience.
That makes me think about, students, they don't, even though they're here, obviously, for their studies, when it comes to a web page, they don't want to read too much, right? So actually the search at the top of the page works really well. So they can start to type in the word of the thing they're looking for, it pops right up. And for us, it was really important too that it was mobile friendly. As you know, we have an Illinois College app you can download from the App Store. The single sign-on portal through QuickLaunch is a button in that app. It all renders great on phones, and so that's extremely important to students as well.
Wonderful. Grisel, do we have any other questions?
Yes, we do. So the other question is, does QuickLaunch leverage AD passwords or store its own passwords?
We do not store our passwords at all. We don't want to be in that business of honestly storing passwords and then having it become more complicated. So in a nutshell, we respect the policies and passwords. We write it back to your domain controllers. If you promote one of your domain controllers with us, that's when we'll have a copy of your directory. But in a nutshell, it's with you. It's all going into Active Directory.
Thank you, NK. We have another question. Yes. Is
Sure.
QuickLaunch capable of providing provisioning and deprovisioning?
That's exactly what we discussed. So we're already doing app provisioning like Canvas and O365 and bits and pieces. And that's where the realization came to our mind that, you know what, each one of you is having custom PowerShell scripts. Some of you are more sophisticated and you've got tools like FIM and MIM, and you're probably in old days of Oracle, Tivoli, Identity and all. How can we become the heart? So we're doing provisioning, deprovisioning in the essence of applications, but we want to do real provisioning, deprovisioning, which is set for this year, wherein first use cases for us is Banner to AD, back to 365, back to Blackboard, Canvas, and D2L. And then we're going to go PeopleSoft, and Genzabar is one of our partners. So that becomes a no-brainer for those who are Genzabar. That could be a news that there are partners. And we know the schemas really well. So yes, we're doing it, but we want to do it really, really well, how higher education demands to complement you, to give you this platform, and to help save dollars for you as well.
Thank you, NK. One more question. Does QuickLaunch have in-common integration available?
We do, and that's a good question in regards with some of you are using in-common for getting access to applications, which results in you having to have an on-premise Shibboleth server, which means now you have an identity provider. And you would say, why should we now go with QuickLaunch? We already have Shibboleth. Because the answer is you're maintaining it, managing it, upgrading it. It's single point of failure as well, which is if that goes down, the in-common integration goes down, and the rest of your applications might or might not be talking to Shibboleth. So what we're going to do is we'll take over, we'll give you in-common adapters out of the box. We'll give you a replacement of SHIB, CAS, ADFS, OpenID, OpenAM, OAuth, and give you this multi-protocol translator. So yes, we do have connectors available. And again, this was not possible unless we have these CIOs who wanted these solutions to be available, so that credit goes to a few of our universities like College of Marine and Calhoun Community College and New Mexico State University, who are part of InCommon, and they wanted us to provide it. And we thought, let's partner together. So the model is again pretty similar, which is partner together, get this going, make it a success for you, make it a success for us as well.
Thank you, NK. We have a question for Mr. Brown. What are the top 3 things which the C-suite looks in 2018 when it comes to reporting and analytics?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. What are the top 3 things which the C-suite must look in 2018 when it comes to reporting and analytics?
Top 3 things that
predominantly, I think top 3 things when it comes to reporting and analytics. As a CIO, what do you feel about that? What do you think we should be doing? What are you looking at? What sort of data do you believe you need to have better empowerment for being able to see what's happening at campus?
So I think it's what we've seen so far in our first year of QuickLaunch has been very helpful. You know, being able to monitor what applications everyone is using, what are the top 5, the bottom 5, and everything in between. Because every application, not every application, if you have some homegrown, but generally there's costs associated with everything, right? Whether you're building it yourself or you're buying it from a vendor. So if you see an application, for example, that's consistently in the bottom 5 for whatever amount of time that you determine is important, that could be an area you look at to save some money if it's just not being used and you feel like it's been advertised in the right way. It gives you that sort of insight, and what NK is showing what the potential is going to be in 2018 as far as being able to see more about where are they accessing it from, being able to do more with that data from the previous year and that sort of thing is going to be great as well. And then I mentioned this earlier, but the analytics from the standpoint of password reset, okay, we purchased this tool, let's make sure people are using it. It shows you how many are successful, how many failed. You can actually tell, if you look at the ones that have failed, and then they went over and became successful. So maybe they answered their security question wrong, and then a few minutes later, you see they were successful, they reset their password. It gives you that level of detail, which is great because you want to be sure that whatever product you're using, so for in this example, QuickLaunch, that it's effective and that it's doing what you purchased it to do. And so from what we've seen so far, it's been great, and I look forward to even more availability of analytics in the new dashboard.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. I think those are the questions for the day. And Kate, over to you.
Thank you, Grizel. Those who have joined, I think one of the biggest compliments that we've been giving to each one of you, and again, it's not about doing business, it's about at least providing our 2 senses. There's ID security assessment available. Please send an email to communications@quicklaunchsso.com. We'll be happy to at least conduct sort of an audit on you when it comes to what applications, how are you doing authentication, what sort of a black cloud data looks like for you all, and what sort of password resets, and how can we basically streamline. It's the theme for 2018, working with all the CIOs, has been how can we divest from the technologies and tools that we're not using, and how can we do better investment to complement. So feel free to raise that request to the email, which is communications@quicklaunchsso.com. And we'll be more than happy conduct a no questions asked $0 audit. That way, at least you have a report available when it comes to your ID security assessment. So that's basically everyone we wanted to cover as part of our today's Ed Talk. We're going to continue repeating these Ed Talks and come up with some other topics as well. And I would want to thank each one of you for taking out time. I know it's 3 or 4 we've already extended, so thank you for staying connected. I would want to especially thank Patrick for taking out time and co-presenting this Ed Talk with QuickLaunch team. So Patrick, thank you so much. Thank you, QuickLaunch team, for setting this up, and thank you, each one of you. This is QuickLaunch team signing off. You all have a great day. Bye-bye.